Welcome everybody to our half-day online conference event called Towards a Multilingual Utopia. How can knowledge lead to action? My name is Yaron Matras. I'm honorary professor at the Aston Institute for Forensic Linguistics in Birmingham, and I'm co-lead on the urban multilingualism strand of the Aston Center for Applied Linguistics. I was professor of linguistics at the University of Manchester for many years, where I founded and led the Multilingual Manchester Research and Public Engagement Project, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Manchester City of Languages Initiative. We're delighted to have a huge turnout to this event. It's being organized by Manchester City of Languages in partnership with Manchester's UNESCO City of Literature group, with MACFEST, the Muslim Arts and Culture Festival, the Aston Institute for Applied Linguistics, Manchester Poetry Library, and Manchester Metropolitan University. Manchester City of Languages is a civic partnership that brings together organizations and individuals. We're providing an open forum for discussion on the challenges associated with multilingualism and on ways that we can tackle those challenges and try to develop global solutions. We have local links and a base in Manchester, UK, as well as international networks of contacts. And we've been part of the event schedule of UNESCO International Mother Language Day since our founding in 2021. We have an understanding of multilingualism that goes somewhat beyond the celebration of the mere presence of languages in our society. Our interest is not just in the side-by-side appearance of languages, what is often referred to as the mosaic of linguistic diversity. Our interest goes beyond that. It's in the active embracing of multilingual and multidialectal repertoires by individuals, and the way that we can forge genuinely pluralistic language spaces. So for us, you could say that celebrating languages is not just patting ourselves on the back and saying what a wonderful world and what a wonderful city we live in that has so many different languages. It goes beyond that. We see ourselves as language, or our preoccupation with language, as a responsibility to work towards more equality and more social justice. So we do celebrate. But we also don't shy away from exploring problems and pointing out obstacles that surround language identities. And to name just one example, our most recently published report that we released a few weeks ago, authored together with students from the University of Manchester, points out problems with the instruments used in England to collect census data on languages, and suggest a few ways to alleviate those problems, just as an example. And this kind of approach is linked directly to the theme of today's conference. We are addressing the multilingual utopia, and we understand utopia not just as the abstract kind of ideal state of affairs. We follow philosopher Ernst Bloch's notion of identity, of utopia, as something that is yet to be achieved. And in order to achieve utopian aspirations, we need to go beyond celebration and showcasing. We need to take action. And action is taken responsibly when it is based on knowledge. So the question that we ask today is, how can we collect and process knowledges, and how we can use that knowledge and lead to action? I have an update on today's format. Due to some technical constraints, we will not be able to proceed as we originally planned with breakout rooms. Instead, what we'll do is we'll run the three panels consecutively. And this will, of course, have the advantage that it'll allow everyone to take part in all three panels, and the panelists also won't need to repeat themselves twice. So we'll have 10-minute breaks between panels, and each panel will run for about 40 minutes. You are invited to post questions to the panelists during each of the panels on the chat, and the moderators will do their best, but work at their discretion and ability to pick up those questions as much as time allows and relate them to the panelists. So with that said, we can move on to our first panel, and our first panel is devoted to teaching languages and how do we dismantle language hierarchies. And I will hand over in a moment to the panel moderator to introduce the panelists. And before I do that, I will introduce the panel moderator, Dr. Ian Cushing. Ian is one of the co-founders of Manchester City of Languages. He is senior lecturer at Manchester Metropolitan University and a specialist in racial linguistics and issues of language and social justice, as well as teaching. He's received multiple awards for his academic work, including an award for outstanding contribution to research from the National Association for the Teaching of English. And he's the winner of the annual book prize of the British Association for Applied Linguistics for his recent book called Standards, Stigma, Surveillance, Racial Linguistic Ideologies and English Schools, that appeared published by Palgrave Macmillan Publishers in 2022. So over to you, Ian, to start our first panel.
Thank you so much, Yaron, for that lovely introduction, and thank you everybody for coming along and taking the time to listen to our first panel and our three brilliant panelists. Yeah, my role here is not to say too much at all, but just to please remind everybody to have their microphones on mute when they're not speaking. The way that this will work is that we have a couple of set questions, and in a moment I'll frame the panel and then ask our individual panelists to respond to those questions individually. But we also welcome input and reflections and questions from the audience as well. So if they want to, if you want to use the chat function to do that, then you're very welcome to do so. We have 40 minutes scheduled for this panel. So we are not going to dismantle language hierarchies in that time, but we're certainly going to have some interesting conversations about ways in which we might potentially go about doing that. If Yaron or anybody that's doing the tech for this could just please make sure that the chat is enabled whilst we get started, that would be great. I just pressed on it.
We've got question and answers. Ian.
Oh, sorry, question and answers.
So I will check that.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so let's get started then. So the focus of this panel is about reflecting on experiences of language education in terms of language hierarchies and how we go about dismantling them. So some big issues, but ones that are so important and topical when we think about the very complex relationships between language and education and equality. So we're going to explore a range of issues here, such as the dichotomies between home languages and modern languages, the existence of language hierarchies within educational policy and practice, and potential utopian visions, as Yaron alluded to, that value languages and the communities who use them equally, with the ultimate goal of dismantling the hierarchies which we know are in existence. So we're joined today by three brilliant panelists, Tahira, Sophie and Hind. I'm going to introduce them incredibly briefly. Tahira is the director of Better We Supplementary Schools here in Manchester. Sophie is the president of the French Small Schools Association in Birmingham, and Hind is the director of the Sudanese Supplementary Schools in Parswood in Manchester. So I purposely left these introductions very brief because I'm going to ask our panelists now to introduce themselves. And if I could just ask you to do so in a way which tells us a little bit about where you teach languages and what languages you teach, a little bit about the context in which you're working in, and who your pupil audiences are as well. If we could please stick to no more than 2 to 3 minutes each, as we have a lot of questions to explore following this. So if it's okay, we'll go to Tahira first.
Hi everyone, it's Tahira. I am representing the Betarui Supplementary School. We teach Bangla in our school. We have currently 5 qualified teachers and 35 registered children right now. It's been now 2 years we are running this school because we know the importance of language. We know that every language has their own value and respect, and that's the reason, and we know the importance of the teaching language. That's the reason we are teaching language, and side by side we are also introducing and promoting our culture, heritage to our children, Bangladeshi community children. So that's all about Betarui Bangla School, and we follow the school term time. So, and there are a lot of waiting list. A lot of children are in waiting list, but due to capacity, we can't give access to everyone. So our capacity is right now 35 children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hind, could I ask the same of you, please?
Okay, hi everyone. I am Hind Kelly from Manchester Sudanese Supplementary School. I have been working at the school since 2007 and became deputy head 3 years ago. I have been working as a teacher assistant in primary schools for more than 7 years. I have been a MACFEST member since 2021. In the Sudanese school, we teach the Arabic language, the Quran, religious studies, and Al-Qaeda Nouraniya, which is the only authentic method which teaches how to read the Holy Quran. Recently, we added rich Sudanese history to the subjects. The school is based in the Barlow High School that runs on Sundays from 1:30 to 6 p.m. We currently have more than 400 pupils enrolled, and 26 dedicated teachers and parents who volunteer, and also alumni. We also run online classes on Sundays for children who live in the other UK cities and outside of the UK. The classes include nursery, reception, year 1 to year 6, pre-GCSE, GCSE, and special education needs class called the Proud People. The Sudanese Supplementary School is for Sudanese, Arabs, and Muslim community. And the school first opened in 1992, so we have been running for over 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Hind. We look forward to hearing more about the school in the questions. Thank you. And finally, same question to you, Sophie.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I've got 2 hats today. I'm representing the French school in Birmingham, which has about 160 pupils. The aim is quite the same as what Tahira and Hind have presented for their own supplementary schools, to help children and teenagers to maintain their French or their home language, and to infuse a sense of community and to keep their French-speaking culture, whichever it is, alive. And I have also another hat, which is representing all these little French supplementary schools or French-speaking supplementary schools over the UK. We are about 56 in the federation, which is so I'm sorry for the unbalance, but we are about 5,500 children over the UK attending these schools. And we are all different. We don't do the same thing the same way. We all have different priorities or different views, or some of us are very towards the French curriculum, and some of us are more towards the multicultural French-speaking curriculums. But all in all, we try to infuse this community sense and to help maintain the French language, especially in writing.
Thank you, everybody. It's really interesting backgrounds. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to post the first question in the chat, in the Q&A as well, and I'll read it out as well. And this is a question that I'd like everyone to answer. And Tahira, I'll start with you again, if that's okay, in a moment. And the question is, what advantages and disadvantages do you see, and thinking about your specific setting maybe as well here, with some of the current arrangements in language education? And I guess that's especially in terms of supplementary schools versus teaching home languages in mainstream schools and mainstream education more broadly. So Tahira, over to you.
The advantages I have seen, by teaching different language like home language is the children get more confident. They can communicate with the parents and the same society, same communities, and they know about their heritage. They can communicate with their back home relatives. So those are the advantages, and more languages they can learn. They can be more confident. That's the advantages, main advantages I have noticed. And the disadvantages is, there are, I think it needs to be more bilingual educational program in the school, college, or universities. Like if our children wants to do GCSE or further education, but in Bangla, there is none of those subjects are available in the schools because maybe the lack of teachers, Bengali teachers. So this is the main disadvantages. Like we are teaching our children and preparing them. We are focusing 4 skills, communication skill, listening, speaking, reading, writing. But when they are confident, when they like the other languages, French, Spanish, or Mandarin, those languages are very available in the school or colleges, but not the other languages, the minorities of languages. I think these languages need to be, acknowledged and need to get equal rights like other languages. That's I feel. Okay.
Thank you, Tahira. Yeah, really interesting. Thank you. Hin, same question to you. It's in the chat if you need to revisit it. But advantages and disadvantages of supplementary and home languages.
Okay. The advantages is like learning the language at a supplementary school allows for more time to focus on the subject, whereas at mainstream school this will only be an hour or 2. And also attending a supplementary school allows children to not only learn the language, but also be surrounded by the community and culture through activities and events. If we talk about the disadvantages, is attending a supplementary school can be time-consuming as they often run on the weekends, whereas learning in mainstream school is done during the school hours. And this is for teachers and for students as well. Also, not all mainstream schools teach certain languages such as Arabic. From what I know, only a handful of secondary schools offer Arabic as a subject, and this is only for GCSEs. So even not like Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, it's started late Key Stage 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Hind. Yeah, some things that we'll come back to there in terms of inequity within the broader national curriculum, right, for languages, and the very much the presence of linguistic hierarchies within. Oh, sorry, I was muted. I was saying something so interesting, but I'll hand over to Sophie because we want to hear from her as well and her response to that question.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about the mic earlier. I forgot to turn it off. So I'm not going to repeat because Tahira said some of my answers. We have the same advantages and same disadvantages. Hind as well had a very complete answer. I would say two things for advantages. It's the freedom as well. We have more freedom. We don't have a set curriculum. We can be free and see where the interests are and where the passion can be, and so that we can engage and motivate a little more, because as Hin said, and it's one of the disadvantages, it's one more day of school, and it's not very well welcomed. So we have to work a lot on what motivates and what engage, and to have the children and teenagers love their home language and not hate it because it's one more day. So it's a great disadvantage, and it's a great difficulty that we have to work against every Saturday for us, and also for some of the people who just arrived in the UK for maybe forced migration or difficult migration, it's a happy time on Saturdays because they can speak the language they know most. For some who have just arrived, and they feel a bit relieved of the pressure of the week. They say, oh, I can speak French and I understand everything. So I presume it's the same for Tahira's school and Hin's schools. Finally I can have some people who understand me. So it's a great advantage.
Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, maybe a follow-up question from that, if that's okay. So as somebody who with working in supplementary schools, I'm really interested in what you said there about the effective dimensions of speaking in your own language at the weekend, and the kind of emotional release that you talked about in terms of students being able to do that. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more, and perhaps tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you've noticed in terms of students coming to supplementary schools, and that being a space where their use of their own language is welcomed and not prohibited, as it can often be in more mainstream education?
Yeah, what I have noticed in our supplementary school, as there is not a lot of parents, only 35 parents, and I have seen they have their different bonding, and they can speak, when they have drop off the children. Parents also have very nice bonding. They speak on their own languages, even when we have any event like today. It's the International Mother Language Day, and we are celebrating on Saturday. And parents get involved. Children are, they like all our family, Bengali community family. So this is very good thing, and it is also I notice is good for health and well-being as well. They are sharing a lot of things in between them. They can trust them. So they are making a lot of events together. So this is the very good positive advantage regarding the health and well-being, and because a lot of Bangladeshi community, even other communities, we left our family at Bangladesh, so they don't have a lot of families here. But when they come to Betarui Bangla School, they are making their own family. Like yesterday, I have received a text message from one of the students, our Bengali school student. She texts me like, I'm one of the teacher, and she told me that you are my second mom. That's a very good thing, positive thing for me, because she is like she trusts on me, and she liked the school. She shared a lot of things with me. So this is very positive, atmosphere I have seen. Also, when they come, they also mention that they feel like Betarui is like their second home after their home at So this is the positive things that I can feel. They are getting confident, yeah, that's the positive things I noticed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tahira. Yeah. Hind, have you got anything to add at this point?
I think Tahira didn't left anything to add, but it's the same thing. Same thing, but on the other hand, like when they come to the school, they felt like they are in their home, and they meet their friends, speak the same language, and also for the teachers, they didn't feel that these are teachers, they feel that they are the aunties. Like they call the teachers like Khaltuis, which is mean auntie, and they made new friendship. And as I mentioned before, is they surrounded with their cultures, and they expanded this knowledge, not even learning the language, but the knowledge to know the customs and traditions through the event. We are organized through all over the year, such as end of the year day, end of the year celebration day, and like competitions in Arabic and lots of things that let them feel like they're in their home or back home.
Thank you, Hind. Thank you. I'll ask my second question that I've sent the panelists before in a moment, but just to remind our audience that you can use the Q&A function if you want to ask a question yourself. There's been a comment here about how mainstream schools can promote the value of home and heritage languages rather than relegating everything to supplementary schools, particularly around the use of translanguaging as a pedagogy, and we'll perhaps try and talk about translanguaging and pedagogical strategies later if we get a chance. But I'm going to ask my second question now, and Sophie, if it's okay, I'll come to you first for this one this time. So I posted it in the chat, but the question is, can I ask you just to reflect a little bit more generally on what you feel is the status of home languages versus so-called modern foreign languages, and whether you feel that we need a slightly different approach in educational systems to ensure equality. So what do you feel needs to change in order to make schools, either mainstream or supplementary schools, more linguistically equitable spaces? So Sophie, if it's okay, I'll come to you first.
I have to say it's a difficult question, especially for French, because I don't feel I'm very, I'm quite privileged compared to Tahira and Hind, because my language is heavily taught at school and in mainstream school. So can I pass? Can I pass the? Because absolutely. I feel I'm going to take the space of less privileged languages than mine.
No problem. Thank you, Sophie. Tahira, then, if it's okay, we'll come to you first and then on to you, Hind.
Yeah, I already mentioned that, when our children, we are teaching Bengali, and by this time, lot of children, they are already confident, they can speak, they can write, but they don't have chance to do the GCSE because it's not available in the schools, So we felt that more educational, bilingual educational program needs to be promoted, needs to be available in the school. So then our language will be more recognized, like French, Spanish, and the other languages. So it's very important. And also what we have found, like when we run the language school, there is no funding for the school. So this is also one major point needs to be, identify, because we need, like the other schools, if we want to run the schools, we need pay for the teachers, pay for the premises and resources. So then it will get equal rights, like in the other schools they are teaching different languages, they have everything available, but not in the supplementary schools. And if you keep the teachers as a voluntary basis, how long? Then you have to keep changing, new teachers need to become. So it is not very consistent system for the teaching. So this is the disadvantages, and we feel all languages like the Bengali, Arabic, other languages, those languages need to be available, equal access in the schools, colleges. Yes, that's my answer.
Thank you, Tahira. And Hind.
Yes, one of the main barriers to supplementary school is the lack of resources or accessibility to resources. For example, we struggle to find books that suit the needs and learning level of the children who were born and raised in this country. Thankfully, we eventually found suitable books from the FAL website, which stands for Fun Arabic Learning, that were made specifically for this audience. And the modern foreign language are more accessible and taught in mainstream schools. They also have allocated learning time within school hours and more resources. This approach applied to home language could be beneficial and ensure equality. Also, home languages can also include sign languages such as Arabic, English, or other sign language. But this is not like we have these on our supplementary schools.
Thank you, Hind. Thank you. Sophie, I think you wanted to jump in. Over to you.
I wanted to talk about one unique offer for French bilingual or multilingual children in the UK. There is a school in Bristol who has an agreement with 62 primary schools. So it's a massive operation. And these children, they go to this school 1 day a week to have their primary school day in French. So they do all activities in French. That could probably also help to have more equality between languages. If they have children from one language could repeat that experience in other schools and probably do some math in Bengali or in Arabic instead of English for 1 day. They could probably also help develop some skills in the other language.
Thank you, Sophie. That's a really interesting example. Do you know the name of the school? Sorry, for people who might be interested in looking.
Yeah, it's École Française de Bristol, so French School of Bristol.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing that example. Thank you. As Anna has suggested in the chat, that they say, you know, that the culture of education should be one that promotes multilingualism, and in theory there's a lot said about inclusion, but not as much as in practice. As Tahira said, there's no funding to promote multilingualism, and we know that a lot of mainstream schools sadly are largely monolingual spaces, or certainly spaces where monolingual ideologies persist. On that then, and again I'll ask all of you, what role do you think teachers play in dismantling language hierarchies then, in challenging dominant beliefs and attitudes and ideologies about language, and what role do teachers have in pushing back against some of those mainstream narratives about language? Sophie, I'll come to you first again this time, if that's okay, and
okay.
Then we'll move to Tahira and Hind.
Are you talking about school teachers or supplementary school teachers, or both, probably?
I don't mind, yeah, but okay. A bit of both if you can, but anything from your insights and experience will be welcome.
It's not only the teachers' role, but it's the whole supplementary school role and the teachers, and in mainstream schools it's also the whole managing team role. It's all the messages that are sent all day long about if I have a pupil speaking in Arabic to another, so I should say, oh yeah, they're having a nice conversation using their home languages, and maybe not frown and say, oh, what are you talking about? Nobody knows about. To have a positive attitude about children using their languages. And in class, I think maybe, and also people doing curriculums, people working on curriculums should also think about, you know, including a wider range of subjects and aspects of the language. They're trying to, they for example, in French, they try to add more francophone from other country than France, but it's still mainly France in the books. And when we say a French-speaking supplementary school, we often think, oh, it's French, but often it's not French. So I have colleagues who are Senegalese who have just opened a French supplementary school. So everyone needs to be more open, and more needs to be done, and then everybody needs to support the teachers in vehiculing, in communicating to the children the positivity of being multilingual. So it's a very important role for the teachers, but they should not do it on their own. They should be supported, and it's the whole system that needs to support them and to prepare everything for them beforehand. Oh, Jan has gone. Or maybe Tahira and Hind, you want to say something, because Jan seems to be paralyzed in virtual reality.
Yeah, I think you said everything, but still I want to add one thing that, you know, in one class, there may be 30 children and they have 7, 8 different language. We in the school, we celebrate sometimes Eid, sometimes Christmas. So if we acknowledge and celebrate the riches of language diversity, you know, in the school, so other children, they will know, oh, in our class there are different language. They speak Bengali, they speak, you know, Pakistani, Arabic. So few things they will also learn, you know, by celebrating the language, they will learn few words. And, you know, I think it's very positive, and, you know, it's kind of respect as well to the other languages. Thank you.
I'm going to jump in now just until Ian's connection resumes. But maybe if we can just stay with that point, can you tell us a little bit about the multilingualism? Because even the schools, the supplementary schools, are usually labeled. Oh, hi, Ian is back. I was just jumping in with a quick question, but let's not let it distract us. I was going to ask, the supplementary schools too usually define themselves around a particular language. So you teach Bangla, you teach French, you teach Arabic. But to what extent are many of your pupils actually multilingual? And do they have to make a choice then? You can only go to so many supplementary schools at the weekend. So if you have 2 or 3 languages at home, what's your impression? How do parents make that choice to come to you? And how much time and resources do you have available to you to actually take into consideration multilingual repertoires that your pupils bring? Mm-hmm. Sorry, maybe Hind first, and then Sophie, and then back to Tahira.
You're muted, Hind. You just need to unmute yourself. Thanks, Yaron, for stepping in.
Okay. Shall I start with Ian's question then first? Then can we go to your questions again? It's for the responsibility for the teachers is big role and big responsibility, and they have to, because they have to prepare the lessons for different levels, and they have to make resources themselves, and they have to work a lot. And in our school, we are sharing good practice, like the teachers who got experience, they like provide training all the times, And even if the new teachers, they come and join the school, they have any thing to practice, or they find this is useful for a certain age group, they can share it. So it's a big responsibility, but we work together to make it easier for us all, for all of us. And we're saying that in our school, we share this as we share this responsibility and all these difficulties as teachers, parents, and students as well. In the school, we provide like 70%, but we have to work. The student have to work at home as well with their parents to make it. To reach the level we are looking forward. Thank you.
Okay, is there any more perhaps on that point, on the role of teachers, on Ian's question? Then we can just briefly come back to mine if you wish. Anything to add to that, either Tahira or Sophie? No. So coming back to the multilingualism, Ian's back. Coming back to this multilingualism, and we just have a few minutes before we end this session. To the question of how do people of multilingual backgrounds fit in, and how can you help them fit in? Tahira, perhaps first, please.
Yes, as I said, every language has own identity and deserve respect. So if some parents wants to start the Arabic language or French language at our center at Better, we most welcome. We love it, because we want to promote bilingual languages, linguistics. We welcome everyone. So for Better, everyone is welcome to start new languages. We have the resources, we have the our own premises, so we'll welcome if anyone wants.
And Sophie, what about your school? I imagine that some people will come with French, but also another language, or maybe more from home.
Yes, there are fewer pupils like that. We have various arrangements. Some pupils go to 2 supplementary schools, so they come 1 week for French, 1 week for Polish, or 1 week for French and 1 week for another language. We support the parents by reducing the fees, for example, so that they don't have a financial burden, and still infuse the languages of their children. Sometimes we offer some support during the week online, so they either go to their other language supplementary school, and during the week we offer some support in French. Or sometimes we have access, thanks to the French government, we have access to the French Foreign Ministry, we have access to some resources, so online, so they can work online on these resources, have a bit of support, and still carry on with their other languages. So we try to accommodate them. But we are not as lucky as Tahira to have all languages, or many languages available on Saturdays. That will be great.
Okay, in our school, we didn't focus in other language as a supplementary school, just Arabic language. Other languages they study at school, like in mainstream schools. But we have lots of children. We have lots of children that are studying during the week, maybe at the mosques to recite Quran more, more that we provide in the school. Thank you,
everybody. Sorry about my connection issues. Thanks for jumping in there, Yaron. So we just have a few minutes left, and you know, in the responses to that final question, it was really nice to hear people talking about changing attitudes to languages and changing minds about positivity, about multilingualism and curriculum change, etc. I want to end by just thinking about how we might potentially move beyond that a little bit as well. So in his introduction, for example, Yaran talked about utopian visions for language education, you know, as something that isn't yet realized, as something that's a vision for the future. How do we ensure going beyond the celebration of languages and linguistic diversity towards efforts which perhaps focus more on systemic and structural change in order to dismantle language hierarchies? So maybe just a minute or so final reflections from everybody, and that will bring our panel to an end. Tahira, sorry, I'm just looking at you because I'm trying to mix it up who went first and stuff, but if anybody wants to volunteer to go first for this question, because I realise it's a big one, then you can, but if not, then Tahira, then over to you perhaps. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
The offer that Tahira's supplementary school seems to be the beginning of an answer, to have a community that is really promoting multilingualism and supporting any choices or helping, you know, you could having all languages in one place, or maybe having the languages back at schools or in mainstream schools, because at the moment they're pushed away. But if we could be there again, maybe during the week, or so that it's less a burden for the children and especially the teenagers to have to attend one more day. So if it was accepted by the mainstream society that most of us are bilingual or plurilingual or multilingual, you say in English, and have the communities more during the week. I don't know how it will be possible to do that, but I think we need to be more visible during the week, and also we are also very separated, like Hind and my Hind school and my school, we are very on our own language because it's easier to manage, and that's the way we set up our charities. But maybe if there was a more systemic help to create and to set up charities to support different languages and to support multiculturalism and multilingualism. It's not easy to pronounce, but that would certainly help, because we all, you know, we have a little means. We are just parents trying to do something, discovering the charity laws and how to set up something, and then to do the finance. And so if we had more structured help and visibility during the week, I think that would be fine. It's easy for me to say because it's French, but so forget about French, but more visibility for Arabic, more visibility for Bangla, more visibility for other languages that are less well known.
Thank you, Sophie. And I'm conscious now of time, but also conscious that if there are any very, very, very quick reflections from Hind or Tahira, no pressure at all, but anything to add before we draw this panel to a close and have a break? Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody. It's just been fascinating listening to you. Thank you for sharing your work and your expertise with us.
And a warm thank you from me as well for the wonderful work also that you're doing. You have such a vital role in strengthening the confidence of people in their own culture and their own heritage and in their own languages. And that is already a step towards the utopia of multilingualism that we're talking about. It wouldn't be there without you. Thank you very much again. We're going to take a 10-minute break now, and we are back at 5 p.m. UK time. And accordingly, wherever you are in the world, we'll see you for our second panel on language in UNESCO cities of literature and culture in about 10 minutes. Thank you.